In advancing to the finals, New York would meet the San Antonio Spurs, a team that had faced their own share of pressure that had been building for the past decade. In 1989, a heralded college superstar named David Robinson joined the Spurs. Hailed as the savior of the franchise, Robinson would make an instant and dramatic impact.
Johnson's got it. Into the lane. Over to Robinson. Oh, my! Two-handed sledgehammer jam for David Robinson.
Robinson, along with fellow rookie Sean Elliott, led the Spurs to 35 more victories than the year before and the Western Conference semifinals.
Whenever you have a guy like David Robinson and the impact that he has on the game, automatically you're going to think, hey, in the next couple of years we're going to win a championship.
But in the seasons to come, the Spurs would have trouble living up to those lofty expectations.
For San Antonio, it has to be the ultimate letdown again. This is a team that has really underachieved when it's gotten to postseason.
You know, people just thought it was going to be a natural progression for us to go ahead and win this thing. And I think maybe that talk started too early, put a lot of pressure on us.
Year after year, Elliott, Robinson, and Avery Johnson would see impressive regular seasons washed away by playoff failures.
Robinson is saying, what must I do?
It was always David's fault, or David didn't compete, or David was soft. In reality, all it meant was that the team wasn't good enough.
In 1997, with Robinson injured, the Spurs hit rock bottom, winning just 20 games. But a decade after drafting David, the team chose another 7-foot superstar named Tim Duncan. And as they blended their talents, the two big men would lead a San Antonio resurgence. In 1999, the team rolled to the league's best regular season record.
Johnson, Robinson, gives it up to Ellie for the win!
But their return to the NBA's elite would also bring renewed pressure on the Spurs as they tried to erase their history of playoff disappointment.
Just having the best record of the regular season, that doesn't mean anything. You know, it just means that, you've played pretty well up to that point, but you still got to prove yourself in a whole different pressure situation.
And they would be tested right away as the young Minnesota Timberwolves rose up to defeat the Spurs in San Antonio, tying their first-round series at 1.
I think that there was a little bit of nervousness there, like, what are we doing here? Are we doing this thing again?
But this Spurs team showed signs they just might be different, beating the Wolves in 4 games and then sweeping the Lakers. In the Western Conference Finals, they would meet the Portland Trail Blazers, who had the league's best home record. The Blazers wanted a split in San Antonio, and with an 18-point lead in Game 2, they seemed well on their way to achieving it.
Now to Kersey off the dive. He's smothered by Walt Williams.
If this was a different Spurs team, now would be the perfect time to show it. And they began to claw their way back.
Sean Elliott with daylight. And knows what to do with it. A 17-2 run by the Spurs.
This team is so resilient down the stretch, and we just never give up. You know, we feel when the game is close, the last 3 minutes of the game, we feel we're going to win every game.
San Antonio still trailed by 2 points in the game's closing seconds. Sean Elliott had seen too many playoff games end in bitter defeats. Now he would try to write a new ending.
Ellie will throw it in. Into Sean Elliott. He fires the 3. Oh, God! San Antonio takes the lead. San Antonio's only lead is the final score.
I'm pretty sure that they thought they had this game in the bag. So for us to be able to come back and win, it's got to break their back a little bit.
And it did just that. Portland never recovered as the Spurs completed their second straight sweep.
Feels good, but, still more out. I'm excited, but we got to reach our goal.
The Spurs' final test would come against Allen Houston and the New York Knicks in the NBA Finals. San Antonio battled their way to a commanding 3-1 lead. But even as they came to the brink of their first NBA championship, they were intent on maintaining their resolve.
We ain't did nothing yet. So let's come with the same intensity. Let's go. Let's go.
1, 2, 3. Defense.
And for the veteran David Robinson, the quest that had begun a decade earlier was now nearly complete.
I just remember all the trials, and I remember it all as real, challenging but positive. I mean, for me, it really taught me how to reach down and get a little something else out of myself.
But the last step to the title would prove to be one of the toughest against an inspired Knick team intent on pushing the series to a 6th game.
As I look across the floor at the Spurs, there's concern on those faces.
With the Spurs confronting yet another challenge, their young superstar Tim Duncan would take over, hitting shot after tough shot. But New York still held a late 1-point lead.
Now, who else besides Duncan will stand up for the Spurs? A championship awaits.
Every one of our guys has taken a lot of, criticism as far as, Avery, they say, oh, you never win with that point guard. Sean, they say stuff about him. Me, they say stuff about me. So it's one of those situations where Avery and Sean and I can kind of sit there and look at each other, and we have that bond.
Now, in the final minute of Game 5, San Antonio would have the ball and an opportunity to silence their critics once and for all.
Here comes Avery Johnson. A title's at stake. Spurs are closing in. They want Duncan. Got it on the entry pass. Double team. Elliott on top. Elliott bluffs, drives, kicks. Avery Johnson for the lead. Yes!
Avery Johnson drills it from the baseline, and the Spurs have regained the lead.
The Knicks had one last chance, but the Spurs had come too far to let the championship slip from their grasp.
The San Antonio Spurs win their first ever NBA championship.
Failure is not always failure. Failure can be success. Failure can prepare you for success. It's all about the team. The team needed me to hit that shot, and they was dependent on me.
The real satisfaction I get out of this is watching David and Sean and Avery smile and enjoy after having been together so many years and things finally work out for them.